Hello, I'm the FanFic Critic. I read it, you listen. Yeah. Halloween special, that fanfic. Ugh. I am still trying to recover from that fanfic. So, hopefully today's fanfic will not, be mind-scarringly bad. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm not in my usual attire and with my hair up in a freaking bun, I had to do my laundry today. Yes, I do wash that outfit. Trust me, it would get really gross if I didn't. So we're going to do something new. This is going to be casual fanfic critic day. Just going to be casual. Let's hope the fanfic itself is casual and not crazier, then I'll probably be ripping all of this out. I don't think I would look good bald now, would I? Alright, well today's fanfiction, this request is a funny one because it's not necessarily a fanfic. This person just sent me all the works of this person named Starremo on DeviantArt. So I'm just going to choose one of this person's fanfics. In their gallery, it looks like they have a bunch of incomplete fanfics. At least they sent me the gallery and I didn't have to go digging for the other parts. I don't really like getting requests from DeviantArt just because of how unorganized it is. So if you guys do decide to request something from DeviantArt, and if the story has multiple parts, and if you know it's complete, try to send me all the parts, or at least, you know, the gallery of the person you want me to look at. It would be very helpful. Alright, so we have several to choose from. I'm going to go with the one called Gargoyles Universal Gate Part 1. Of course I'm going to go for that one because that's the title of today's episode. I'm assuming there's other parts to it, but I don't see the other parts, so I'm going to assume that this person never updated. Oh, this was written back in January of 2008. Yeah, so I don't think this person's going to be updating. So I'm assuming it's a Gargoyles fanfic. At least I know what the fandom is, unlike the last time I reviewed something on DeviantArt. I found out that Sony May fanfic was Lunatics, by the way. Never watched the show, didn't care to watch the show, and I'm kind of glad I never did watch the show. I heard it wasn't really that good. I don't know what the rating is. I know it has 8 comments, 4 favorites, that's promising, and 660 views with 3 downloads. Not very promising, seeing this has been up since 2008. So, let's jump right in. It started like all of the other nights that I've witnessed since as far back as I can remember. Oh, it's in first person. That is to say, since I first... Okay, why is the S in since capitalized? That's not the beginning of the sentence. I'd show you a screen cap, but you know, I'm not going to bother with something as minuscule as that. If I find a really bad typo though, I can guarantee you will see the screen cap for it. Since I first arrived there in Manhattan, my name is Sapphire. I'm a gargoyle. I haven't watched the show Gargoyle in ages, but I highly doubt there was a character named Sapphire. And seeing this is written in first person, I'm beginning to think that this might be an original character. Let's do a quick minute of research to find out if Sapphire is actually in Gargoyles or not. Okay, we're going to pause and we're going to find out. I'm going to go show a screen cap. Oop. Alright, this will be the screen cap of showing the characters, and then you hear my voiceover. And then after I say my thing, then we'll go to this. Oh wow, look at that. I don't see anyone in there named Sapphire. So this is definitely an original character. Promising. Well, not all original characters tend to be Mary Sue's or Gary Stu's. I'm assuming this one's a girl because of the name Sapphire, but I may be wrong. So let's continue. I come from Stone Island. It's a tiny island not too far from the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, this is not looking good. How that man ever found my clan and I... What man? I will never know. Oh, so she has her own clan. Okay, yeah, this is definitely an original character and most possibly a Mary Sue. Sorry, I should be a little more specific. Gee, you think? That man that I referred to's name is Xanatos. Where I came from, he was hell-bent on destroying all of my kind, no matter what the cost. Every day he would do his hardest to make the humans trust him and fear us. He would go out of his way to get any gargoyle he could to look bad, framing us for things that he'd done wrong just to gain the confidence of the humans. We were his pawns, and those of us who didn't play along with his game were disposed of like a puzzle with a missing piece. Wait, you said that he was out to get you, yet you're implying that you guys would play along with his game. I don't get it. Whatever. We were made slaves to the humans and Xanatos. Okay, I thought that he wanted to destroy your kind, so why would he make them slaves if he wants to destroy them? Okay then. Anything he wanted we did, for we feared that would happen. There was, however, a small group of us who decided to rise against this monster and everything he stood for. Every night there was a plan that was concocted by the group, and they'd go out of their way to free the gargoyles that had been captured and enslaved. They looked and hoped to find new recruits through the ones they saved, trying to prove that their cause was worth fighting for, that it worked. However, due to all the abuse brought on by being enslaved and the constant reminder of what would happen if they strayed, okay, again, why do you have the T and they capitalized after a comma? The comma, it does not mean the other sentence ended. It's still the same sentence, so you don't need the T capitalized. They rarely found anyone to recruit. I was one of the very few exceptions. I adored their bravery. I loved what this group stood for. When I joined, they helped me learn the basics that I'd need. The leader's name was Goliath. He was the noblest of gargoyles. Oh wow, Goliath. Someone who's actually legitly canon to the actual gargoyles thing. Yay! The technician was Lexington. He was always coming up with some new gadget for us to use on our missions. Hudson was the wisdom of the group, while Brooklyn and Broadway were our brute force. Angela, Demona, and Bronx were our spies. Angela took to the skies while Bronx sniffed out any problem from the ground level. Demona used to be able to walk right in disguise as a human. She used to. So why doesn't she do that anymore? Are you going to explain that in the next paragraph, or are you just going to leave us hanging? For a while we had a friend who was a human. Her name was Elisa Mazza. Unfortunately, she and Demona both met the same fate. Okay, I guess this will explain what happened then. Elisa was shown to the rest of the humans and singled out for being friends with gargoyles. They called her a traitor. Okay, why is the T in traitor capitalized? There's no need for it to be capitalized. It's not a name. To all of humankind, and that she sought the destruction of the humans. Her fate, ... was death. Demona, who had also been captured and was also sentenced to death, though she was made an example of in front of all of us gargoyles. Needless to say, we were crushed to see her go. Wasn't Demona like a villain in the show? Or was she like kind of like an on and off villain? I think. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched it. Little did Xanatos know that only fueled our desire outcome more. We would have our vengeance for this. We fought long and hard for our allies from Britain. The outcome was only a bittersweet victory. Griff and his clan were enslaved and tortured until two of the members could no longer take it and committed themselves to death. Though at least for the time being, we had destroyed one of two of. Get rid of the repetitive use of the word of Xanatos' great fortress. The story is literally all over the place. Is it just me? Unfortunately, we were forced into hiding for the next 4 months due to the gargoyle hunt that shockwaved because of it. Okay, I'm going to pull something that the fanfiction critic normally would say. Show. Don't tell. You know, this story would be a lot more engaging if we were actually seeing this happening, not you going, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then we were enslaved, but then we uprised and we won, and then we got enslaved again, and then someone died. Oh, when, I mean, show something. This is so fucking boring. It's just, ugh. This is not a way to tell a story. This isn't. This is not creative writing at all. Let's continue. During this time, we desperately tried to find a way to get the Phoenix Gate and the Grimorum acronym or whatever. I'm probably saying it wrong. I don't care. It was during this time that Brooklyn and I would finally confess our feelings to one another. So you're in love with him? When did this pop up? I mean, is this person just making this up on the top of their head as they go? We'd always been teamed up and we knew each other cared in some manner, though we never wanted to bring ourselves to say it, in fear that the other would tell us now was not the time for this. Though we were pleasantly surprised when they encouraged us to do the mating ritual. From there on out, we were inseparable. Or so we ... thought. The time had finally arrived for us to attack Xanatos' main headquarters. This is what we all waited on every night for the past months. We were focused. We were ready. We trained non-stop for this event, and here it was. It was time for us to seize control of the power that rightfully belonged to everyone and not just one man. No, one monster. Finally, we would have our revenge. Our sweet and longed for revenge. Demon Elisa, don't you mean Demona? Griff's clan, they would all not die in vain. So we suited up and started out for the fortress. When we arrived, it all had started out smooth. Some of us went through the vents, some from underground, and some from the roof. Brooklyn and I... Why do you have a comma after Brooklyn? If it says Brooklyn and I, you don't need the comma! Crawled through the ventilation system and managed to get a fix on the layout of where the guards were placed. We signaled back to Lexington to inform Goliath and the others, though something seemed odd and wrong. There were so few guards that stood watch. Either Xanatos was way too egotistical about there being nothing and no one would be able to penetrate his fortress, or it was a trap. Something tells me it's a trap, but something tells me that the characters in this story are too stupid to figure it out. Unfortunately for us, we were naive and figured he was only egotistical, and stupidly we went right into it. I was right. I never questioned Brooklyn and his commands. I figured he had more experience. He'd know more than I did about this. I was ... wrong ... What happened next ... changed everything. If you're going to do the ellipse thing, you have 3 dots, not 2. It looks wrong when it's just 2 dots. If you want to be really dramatic, you can have more than 3 dots, but nothing ever less than 3, unless it's supposed to be just a normal period. Goliath and Angela entered into the room from the doorway. Hudson and Bronx managed their way through a nearby wall. Lex and Broadway crashed in through the ceiling while Brooklyn and I crawled out of the vent. No sooner had we scanned the floor for any trick wire that a familiar voice launched itself over a PA system. It was Xanatos. As he proceeded to preach about what fools we were, again, show, don't tell, Brooklyn and Hudson had managed to at least get one of the 3 items that Xanatos possessed, though it was not one of the originally sought after items. What's with all the freaking exclamation points? No, it was neither the Grimorum or the Phoenix Gate, but something else entirely. It was called the Universal Gate. I remember Xanatos' voice chatted on, "Oh wow, actual dialogue! And it's embedded in this paragraph instead of in its own separate paragraph." Well, at least there's dialogue. "So, you managed to get to the Universal Gate. Congratulations. It's a pity, though, that you'll never get the chance to understand its wonders before you die. You must feel awful to make it so far and have the prize in your hand only to be trapped like the rats you are." Last I checked, they were gargoyles. They don't look anything like rats. If you said that if they were trapped like the bats they were, that would probably make more sense, because at least they resemble bats a little bit more. Maybe I'm just overthinking this. And with that, the window slammed shut with extremely thick metal that bare fist, don't you mean bare fists, plural, could not penetrate. Everywhere we looked, there was something that closed to box us in. Well, you know what, they deserve this. They really do deserve this for being this stupid. Brooklyn, being a quick thinker, ripped open the doors to the elevator shaft I'd been standing close to. The sound of metal could be heard as the elevator shaft started to be blocked by the impenetrable steel. In a quick act, he shoved the Universal Gate into my claws. I only had a chance to give him a look to ask why before he literally tossed me into the elevator shaft. All I remember hearing as I fell were his last words, take the gate in, live for us both. You, ... know what to do." Oh yes, this character is definitely a frickin' Mary Sue. The last thing my eyes acknowledged before the darkness of that shaft consumed me were of his face and the cage that engulfed them. So does he have more than one face? Or are you referring to as them as in the rest of the clan? How much more of this fucking... Oh, I'm not even halfway done yet. You're fucking kidding me. When I recovered from being knocked out, I sat up straight and grabbed my head. I could feel the warmth of the blood that gently leaked from my head. Though I had received worse in my past by means of torture, so I proceeded to ignore its... What the fuck? So I proceeded to ignore it. I dizzily stumbled to my feet and stared at the flights above me. Rewrite that sentence, please. Gently, I rubbed my head as I tried to remember what had just happened. It was then I remembered Brooklyn and being tossed down the shaft. Gasping, I stared down at the Universal Gate that rested in my claws. It was then that I understood my position and the dire need to move. However, there was something that tugged at my heart. Where were the others? Were they okay? What had happened, and how long had I been laying there unconscious? So I tucked away the Universal Gate and I started climbing up the walls of the elevator shaft until I reached a ventilation system. Okay, the whole purpose of him tossing you down that shaft was so then you could get away? And what are you doing? Well, you need to make sure they're okay, so I'm going to risk my life and pretty much put their sacrifice in bed so I can see if they're okay, even though they're probably not going to be okay, because I'm a fucking idiot! Quietly, but swiftly, I made my way towards where the room had been. Though I didn't have to make it to the room in order to find out what had happened. Xanatos had apparently caged my whole clan together. He had noticed the Universal Gate was missing, and since none of my clan would speak, he decided to make examples out of them. They had been brought to the center of a baseball field-like dome. All the gargoyle slaves and others alike were brought in and forced to watch as Xanatos brought Goliath and everyone up through the center of the floor. From there, a lecture would be started, and I only prayed that would be what bought me some time. Okay, why do you have the repeated word of that? Well, it bought me some time, but it wasn't enough. But do you guys see why writing a story like this is just crappy? Because it's just boring. It's just this person rambling on about what happened, and it's just boring. You don't write stories like this. I mean, this is all it is. It looks like I'm near the end, thankfully, but still, this is just bad. This is bad. You don't write stories like this. This probably could be engaging if there's actual action going on. I mean, there is technical action going on, but we're not really seeing it. We're just hearing it from this stupid Mary Sue thing. Let's just keep on reading. By the time I had arrived there, I only managed to catch the end of the speech. Their sentence was to be turned to stone and destroyed in front of all. With widened eyes, I covered my mouth and stared, shaking my head. Stared, shaking my head. Stared, shaking my head. Stared, shaking my head. And stared to shake my head! Not stared. Started! 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 This is why you proofread! This is why you have people peer edit your work! It's not that hard to do! You can even read your own story out loud! Because when you read something out loud, you tend to notice these typos more. Trust me, I should know. I've been doing this for 195 episodes. I know Brooklyn had spotted me. That jerk. He smiled at me from down there. I guess he was happy to see that I was alive and free. Though I couldn't let anything happen to him, I didn't want to see him killed. Oh, no. No. You know, they sacrifice themselves for you to escape with this thing so you could save the rest of your kind. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Did you not watch Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan? Apparently not. Without even knowing it, my feet began trekking down the stairs. With every step I took, I watched as I turned to stone right before my eyes. I couldn't believe it. They turned to stone. At night. He just said he was going to turn them into stone to let you be so shocked! Xanatos and his stupid spells. My eyes burned as I fought back the tears and prepared to lung... Don't you mean lunge? Lunge. Why don't people proofread? Prepared to lunge myself towards them, but it was too late. Just as I had reached my last step, they were crushed into 1,000 pieces or better. Like, what were you going to do about it? What were you going to do about it? There wasn't anything you could have done, so you just wasted your time. Almost as if I had tackled or shot my body slammed to the ground. Just the sight of it was enough to have brought me down. My emotions overpowered me as I cried out at that moment. My voice screamed in agony for Brooklyn and my clan. That was it. I was lost and alone. Out of everyone who fought for freedom of the Gargoyles, I was the only one who remained alive. At that moment, I was consumed by grief and neglected all hope. For what could one more gargoyle do against someone like Xanatos? That's when I heard it. Those words Brooklyn had shouted to me. The words about living for him, for us. That I would know what to do. Well, he was right. Of course he was. I know what to do, though, more than anything. Shouldn't you have it say, I know what to do now more than anything? It was out of the sheer want to see Xanatos suffer. So gathering what little strength I had left, I charged out of there and headed straight back to that damn fortress. Okay, did Xanatos and the other guards, like, not hear her bellow and scream when he killed them? Or is she, like, magically soundproof? I found exactly what I was supposed to. Lexington's laptop had remained at the scene where they'd been abducted. If I remembered correctly, Lexington and Broadway had rigged the fortress with bombs. All I had to do was hit the go button, and believe me, I did. Why didn't they hit the button when they were being enclosed in that prison? Wouldn't that have saved a lot of trouble? In fact, I'm sure it punched the button. So you're suddenly an it, or did you mean to say I punched the button about 3 more times to ensure that it worked? No more than 2 seconds later did I feel the building rumble from under my feet. Quickly, my feet carried me down the hall and to a window of which I smashed out of. A very welcomed sight was waiting for me there. Xanatos building covered, okay, it's his building, so where's the apostrophe S? Covered in smoke and fire. It hadn't completely collapsed as we had wished and prayed, but at least it was enough to buy me some time. Time of which I needed for the next task. The weeks passed by slowly for me, a little too slowly as I studied the universal gate trying to unlock its secrets. Then one day I figured out the key. An open mind, an open heart, a need and sheer willpower. A need and sheer willpower. After a month, I had finally cracked the secret, and now my real tasks and adventures would begin. To cross dimension to dimension to find help for the gargoyles and humans in my dimension. To find and possibly help other gargoyles out there. I needed an army, or at least an intelligent clan to fall behind me. So this is how it begins. Okay, let's read the little author's note.
Okay, making a note here. This and the very last chapter of this story are the only two that will be written in its format. I'm trying to show what it was like through Sapphire's eyes. And the very last part you'll see she's writing down in a journal. Kind of like one of those shows where it fades into a movie while the person's talking ends. And then the talking picks up again at the end. Anyway, enjoy! Sapphire and Story are copyright to me. Gargoyles are copyright to Disney.
Yeah, I like how they tried to justify how crappily this was written. And seeing I can't find the other parts to this, I can't take your word for it, now can you? And even if I could, I'm not going to read the other parts, because this part alone was just so bad. You know, maybe if you had this little explanation in the beginning, or have it say, like, Dear Journal, da-da-da-da-da, then that would have been acceptable. But no, it's just a jumbled mess of crap. And I'm sorry, but even if it isn't her thoughts, you should still have dialogue in their own lines, not embedded in the middle of a big-ass paragraph. This is... Ugh. So, as I feared, this was a Mary Sue. Not only was this character Mary Sue, she is pretty much... She just hijacks the story. This isn't a Gargoyles fanfic. It says Gargoyles and it has some of the characters in it, but it's not really a Gargoyles fanfic. It's a freaking, you know, if you want to write your own original story, and if you want to use like a format like this at first, you can just take out the other names of, you know, like the characters and just replace them with your own names. Have it be about gargoyles in essence, but it's just... I just don't like fanfics like this. I mean, this is why I hate Mary Sue's and stories like this, where it's not really about the actual show or the main characters. And of course, they have to pair up Sapphire with one of the characters. I mean, this would have been maybe more engaging if this was actually written better and not from Sapphire's point of view. I mean, even if you were to write it in Sapphire's point of view, it still could have been written a lot better. You still could have done the show don't tell thing. I mean, really? Well, I'm the fanfic critic. I read it. You listen.